What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to the Anfield Agenda Euros preview. I'm joined by two special guests, the other half of our channel, somebody who's rarely seen, a bit like a solar eclipse, Mr. Conor Crosby. How are you, sir?
I'm all good. I do come out maybe once or twice a year, yeah, for the special occasions.
See a bit of a fresh trim there, fresh from your magnificent display between the sticks for Ireland in the second half last night.
It wasn't too bad, yeah. I was happy enough with the performance, yeah. Finally got the hair trimmed, like you said. I think it was 4 months since I was last in the barbers. So I was glad to get there.
I'd say I can beat you on the 4 months thing, but hey, that's neither here nor there. And look, the other familiar face you can see is, of course, Leon Blanche from our sponsors, Boiled Sports. And I'd imagine it's going to be a really busy tournament for you lads, Leon.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Craig. I'm wearing my Ireland t-shirt today because obviously we won't be there, but a little bit of optimism after the performance against Hungary. Conor was superb in the second half between the sticks. And of course, Adam done exceptionally well in the first half. So I think the future's bright in goal for Ireland, but hopefully we can keep this young side together, keep them playing together, get them used to each other more and more. And at least the signs are looking a little bit better than, of course, than they were a few months ago. But the Euros, it's a big one. Football fans love it. I think it's an open Euros when you look at kind of the sides that are obviously up the top end. You've got all the regulars, the likes of France, England, Spain, Portugal, Belgium. Look, it's going to be a tricky Euros, and there's a couple of dark horses in there as well. There will be no pushovers. The likes of Ukraine, I didn't even realise it until I was just doing a little bit of research on this. They finished top of their group, ahead of Portugal, with 6 wins and 2 draws. So managed, of course, by Andrei Shevchenko at the moment. So look, the Euros...
Penalty missing merchant, Leon. That's all he is.
Well, listen, thank God he was, because that was one of our greatest nights back in 05. But look, it just, Craig, you know yourself, and Conor will know, every Euros or every major tournament, there's always a surprise team. And I just feel maybe Ukraine could be that kind of dark horse that come from nowhere. But let's wait and see.
So you're ruling out North Macedonia. Shouldn't be putting the mortgage money on North Macedonia, no?
No, I don't think they'll be doing anything much. But look, isn't it great for them to qualify for a major tournament? I wish we could say the same about our lads, but unfortunately we got knocked out in the playoffs. And we actually played quite well in that bloody game against, was it Slovakia? We probably should have got the job done. We had chances, but we got beaten on penalties. But look, it's good for North Macedonia. They're going to play against some of the best players in the world. Great experience for their countrymen, but it'll be a short-lived tournament. They'll play their 3 games and they'll get to go home.
Yeah, it was a bit, just before we move on to that, I had to double take last night at the end of the Ireland game when I looked up and I seen Queefy and Kelleher, but then I looked down the far end of the pitch and I seen a certain red-haired Adam Bogdan, and I just thought, hang on a second here, lads. Don't even talk to him, Queefy. Don't shake hands with him. We don't want him rubbing off on you. Look, Conor, yeah. I know you've backed what I wouldn't call a dark horse, but you know, you've stuck a little few quid on Portugal, who I think it's fair to say in that group of France, Germany, Hungary, you know, we would call it the group of death, but as Leon pointed out to us before we started, the 3 of them will probably get out of it with the way the competition is set up. But what makes you so confident around Portugal going that far?
I wouldn't say confident, but I do think it's a good outside show, purely because 1, very good squad all around, very good options in every position. 2, they have Ronaldo, of course, game changer. 3, they won it the last time, reigning champions, won to back it up. 4, Diogo Jota, the best player on the planet, playing for him. So, yeah, I think it's a decent shout, to be honest. As long as they get through the group, that is the tricky part. Like, if something goes wrong, one of the big teams could be out in that group. So I suppose that's where the risk comes.
Yeah, Leo, we were again talking ahead of recording this, and we were saying if you fancy any of those, Portugal, France, Germany, to go on and lift the trophy, the value was probably to get them now at the group stage before they get through.
Yeah, look, like this group, I think all of them are going to beat Hungary. Well, they should anyway. And you know what? If they don't beat Hungary and it costs them qualification to the knockout stages, well, then they don't deserve to be there. But I think the likes of Portugal, as Conor said, the squad, they've got a lot of options. The French squad, very, very strong. I'd be a little bit worried for Germany, actually. I think that kind of crop of players is... I know we've got Havertz. I know we've got Werner. They're Champions League winners, so they're going to be full of confidence. There's no doubt about that. But the German side, under Lowe, this is his last tournament. I don't expect big things from the Germans. I do fancy Portugal and France to definitely get out of that group, but they will play the winner of England's group plays the runner-up of this particular group. And that could set up a mouth-watering last 16. It could be England against France. It could be England against Portugal. I mean, that's a big bloody game in the last 16 of this tournament. But if you do fancy one of them, yes, Portugal, I think, are 8-1 at the moment. The French have gone favourites. They've been the best supported team in the last week with ourselves. They're favourites at 9-2. And the Germans are also 8-1. So if you like Portugal, which I do, I think they've got a big chance. I might be taking the 8-1 now, because certainly when they get out of the group, they will be a little bit shorter.
I want to move on to talk around England and their chances, but I know, Leon, that you guys do have a special offer on in and around the England games for the Euros. Great to see Stevie G, by the way, fronting the campaign. I mean, I'm all over that. I'm very proud. I don't know why I am.
Look, it was great to get him, and an ultimate professional. Got everything done. Real thorough gentleman just to work with. And look, for every England game, as you rightly said, bet £10 or €10. And if your bet doesn't win, we'll refund it as a free bet. And look, England, they've got a great squad, Craig. I mean, Southgate is going to have to make some big calls, in my opinion. Does he pick players in form, or does he go back to the ones that he's kind of trusted? And where I'm talking about those kind of decisions, does he stick with Rashford, who hasn't had a good season? Or does he play Jack Grealish, who I think should start every England game? Then you look at the likes of Phil Foden. He's got to start ahead of Raheem Sterling, in my opinion, as well. So there's some big calls for Southgate on the first game. Will he play 3 at the back? Because it looks as if Harry Maguire will not be ready for that Croatia game. I think personally, if I was an England man and I was an English fan, I'd be hoping he played 3 at the back, because I think if they just go with 2, they could get caught out with John Stones or Ben White, or if it's John Stones with Tyrone Mings or John Stones with Conor Cody. It doesn't fulfill me with bundles of confidence as my 2 centre-halves. I have a feeling Kyle Walker will play on the right side of the 3. And what he gives you is plenty of pace. And they can play the wing-backs. I think that might be the way England should go.
Conor, one thing that we've all found, we speak with obviously a lot of English football fans on the channel and friends of ours. One thing that's always been labelled at Southgate is that he has been a little bit too defensive at times. And even with he added in Ben White as Trent's replacement, which surprised me a little bit. Now, I'm a fan of Ben White. I think he's a very good footballer. But you think what Leon said there is right. He should go with form. He should go with, I'm going to call him Gaza, because he's got Gaza's haircut now. Phil Foden and Grealish, to me, as Leon said. I mean, he's in frighteningly good form.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's tricky to justify basically having 5 defenders on the pitch when you do have Foden, Grealish, Mount, Kane, Sancho, Sterling, like so many good attacking players. And I think what you said about Gareth Southgate there is like, I would actually back England to do at least a semi-final if they had a good manager, but I don't think they do. Like you said, he's very defensive, and I can't imagine him being very inspiring. Like, imagine going in at half-time and listening to Gareth Southgate talking to you. I can't imagine you'd be fired up for the second half or anything. I can't, if it goes bad for them, I can't see him turning anything around.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And look, this isn't an anti-English thing for anybody watching. I mean, we watch English football week in and week out. We just want to see the best players performing on the big stage here. And Leon, we had a little joke about this, and it's not an anti-Everton thing, but we both have a little feeling that Jordan Pickford could actually be a bit of a hindrance to England in this tournament.
Well, look, he does have that kind of clanger in him. You know, he does have a big mistake in him, and we see it often enough. Sometimes he's outstanding. Sometimes he looks like a world-class goalkeeper, but then on other occasions, he makes schoolboy errors. And he is England's number 1. He's going to get the start against Croatia. There's no doubt about that. But I just wonder, are the kind of backup keepers, are they more reliable? And that's a question for Southgate. Look, I think if you get Grealish in your team, if you get Phil Foden in your team, you've got Harry Kane in your team, Mason Mount has got to start. The big question mark for Southgate is, does he start Rice or Henderson? Is Henderson ready yet to start? I'd have my question marks over that. But it's a big step up for Declan Rice. Yes, he's done very well for West Ham. There's no doubt about his potential. But is he up to the level of Jordan Henderson is in big, massive games that really matter? And I would say no. So I think for England's chances of progressing, I think they need Jordan Henderson fit because he's a real leader on the park. He's a real leader off the park. But I just don't think Southgate can afford to play both of them. It's too negative. You've got to try and go and win games. That's what makes you win tournaments. Not trying to sit back and hope you'll get a chance. And for Grealish to even be talked about not starting, I think it just baffles me listening to some of the English media. He's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet. He just goes and attacks players. He makes stuff happen. And when you've got a player like that, for me anyway, I'd have him in my team every week.
So would I. I mean, I do agree. My only real thing before I move on to Group A, which I wanted to have a little look at, before I move on, I wanted to talk about Pickford and why I think he'll have a clanger, because it's not because I don't think he's a decent shot stopper. He is. I just feel he has this complex where he needs to feel like he's a commanding keeper, and he isn't. He comes for stuff sometimes that I just don't think he's got any business coming for. He isn't 6'7". He isn't going to come and command his area like he believes he can. And I think he tries to prove something that doesn't need to be proved because he's a fine shot stopper. No arguments there. Look, let's have a little look at Group A, gents. And Leon, I know you like the look of Italy. You were talking to me beforehand about the unbeaten run they're on.
Yeah, you know what, Craig? You've got to remember Italy, as we all look at them as being a part of major tournaments, but they failed to qualify for the last two. And since Roberto Mancini has come in, he's galvanized the whole Italian squad. They're 27 games unbeaten. That's a phenomenal run. I believe if they get to 30, they'll equal the Italian record. Now, they've got their games in Rome, which is a big plus for them too. They've got some very, very solid defenders. They've got a really exciting young goalkeeper who plays for AC Milan. I think he's only 22 years of age, but he's a really top talent. And in Immobile up front, they've got someone who mightn't be prolific. He's yet to score at a major finals, but he scored in one of their warm-up games. And I just think the Italians, if they can get off to a good start against Turkey, which I suspect they will, I think they could go quite close.
Conor, for you, I mean, we were talking about this beforehand. I'm going to be doing the first game of the tournament, which features Italy and Turkey. And I think that group has the potential to be a really entertaining group. Switzerland, no mugs. Wales going to play with a lot of pride and passion. If Bale shows up, you just never know what he's capable of. Obviously, Nico Williams, and they've got some experience in there as well.
Yeah, like you said, Italy are probably clear favourites to win the group, but the other three, there could literally be any of them. I think a lot of people are backing Turkey to be a bit of a dark horse because, like, I think they have Yilmaz up front. They have a solid defence in like Çalhanoğlu, or not Çalhanoğlu's attacking mid, isn't he? And then Soyuncu, and Kabak in the back, and a few others. Like, that is a solid enough team for a team that's, I think, 50-1 to win the tournament. They should do well, to be fair. And like you said, Wales as well. If Bale shows up, anything can happen. Switzerland, very hard team to beat. Yeah, should be really entertaining group.
Any other groups for you, Leon, that stand out as possibly springing a surprise or two, or being more entertaining? Because everyone's eyes are drawn to Group F initially when you see who's in there.
Yeah, you know what, Craig? I think the Netherlands are vulnerable in Group C. If I'm being brutally honest, Virgil van Dijk, him not being there is a huge blow. Their first choice goalkeeper's not there. They rely a lot on Memphis Depay to actually get them the goals. I know Gini plays a totally different position than what we've been used to him at Anfield for the last 5 seasons. He gets forward a lot more for the Dutch side. But I just think Ukraine, they topped the group with Portugal in qualifying. They finished ahead of Portugal and Serbia. 6 wins, 2 draws, managed by Shevchenko at the moment. And they just could put it up to the Dutch in terms of that group. They're in with North Macedonia. They're obviously in with Austria as well. So I just think Group C, for a little bit of value, I think the Ukraine are 9-2 to win the group. I just would like to take on the Dutch. De Boer doesn't fill me with confidence as a manager. He hasn't done that much in his career. And the Dutch always have that time bomb within the camp, that if something doesn't go wrong in the first game, it can all if something does go wrong in the first game, it can all explode. So Ukraine for me to upset the Dutch.
What do you reckon, Conor, about the fact that Big Verge is going to go over and be in and around the squad for the tournament for motivational, morale reasons and just to have that big personality there? Do you think it's a good move?
Definitely won't do any harm anyway. Bit of inspiration in the dressing room. Big character to have around. Obviously, he's won a lot of stuff. He can talk the players through it. But yeah, he's a massive loss for Netherlands. Like, I think if they had him, they would be a decent shout to go far. But a decent team still. But yeah, I think Ukraine might be a good shout to win that group, and Netherlands probably won't get anywhere near the final, to be honest.
The one team that always baffles me a little bit is Spain, because wonderful technicians, they can keep the ball, but with Alvaro Morata, seemingly they're you know, they've got Gerard Moreno as well, who's had a really good season with Villarreal, obviously lifted the Europa League, but you see the opportunities they missed against Portugal, Leon, in that recent game where they fairly dominated Portugal at times. And I just wonder, do they have the firepower? They have the class, no doubt about it, the pedigree, but do they have the firepower?
That's a very good point. Moreno done well, obviously won the Europa League, good season with Villarreal. But Morata, he's so frustrating, Craig. I mean, he misses chance after chance. He gets cut offside so much. I think Timo Werner is probably a young Alvaro Morata in terms of missing chances and getting caught offside. But Spain don't have that clinical marksman. And when you go back to the class sides of before, but they always had the attacking midfielders who chipped in with a lot of goals. They were always able to make up for not having that top drawer striker. Put Lewandowski in the Spanish side and they'd probably win the Euros. And that's what they're missing, because they do create an awful lot of chances. Personally speaking, I would probably start Moreno ahead of Morata, because he's won a tournament. He's coming into the competition full of confidence. First time Villarreal have ever won a tournament like that. It's just players I like, Craig, that are coming into a international tournament that have had a good season with their club. And you cannot argue that he has been pivotal to their success. Whereas Morata, on the other hand, I'm just not convinced with him. I wasn't convinced with him when he was in the Premier League. I'm not convinced with him now either. So it's a tough call. Then they had the coronavirus situation, which is not the best preparation coming into a tournament. But when you look at the group, Poland, Sweden and Slovakia, who of course knocked us out, it's not the most difficult group. You'd struggle to see, could any one of those sides finish above the Spanish? So I'd still go with Spain to win that group, but I don't think they're good enough to win the tournament.
Group B, Conor, features Denmark, Finland, Belgium and Russia. And you know what? Take Finland out of that group, you can see a three-way fight there, because Russia are no mugs. Belgium, obviously, a super talented side with an ungodly amount of talent there. But as we know only too well as Irish people, if Denmark show up, if Denmark perform, if Christian Eriksen's on form, they can do damage. They're no mugs either. No,
they actually are a decent team. And like you said, Eriksen is a very good player in that way. Like, I don't think he's played too well at Inter Milan since he went there. But if he does show up in one-off games, then anything could happen. I am back in Belgium to win that group, though. I think Lukaku will be top scorer in the competition, because I think he probably will bag at least 3 or 4 in that group. I was actually looking, Griezmann won it last time with 6 goals, so it doesn't take too many goals usually. I reckon Belgium should go far. So I think, yeah, Lukaku is probably the top goal scorer, Belgium to finish top, and I'd say Denmark to get second there.
And yourself, would you agree with that, Leon, that form of that group?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm totally with Conor with Lukaku. He's had a brilliant season with Inter Milan. He's one of the main reasons why they won Serie A. He's just a goal scorer. He really is. Anywhere he's been, it's 20 plus goals a season. He's 6-1 joint favourite with Harry Kane to be the tournament's top goal scorer. Both of them take penalties. For anyone out there who wants to have a top goal scorer bet, make sure you align yourself with your chosen player must take penalties, because VAR will be used in this summer's Euros, and you can bet your bottom dollar there's going to be penalties given that will be ridiculous decisions. But Lukaku comes in full of confidence, another man who's on fire at the present time. And it's a very good point about Eriksen too. He mightn't have set the world alight with Inter Milan, but I thought Conte didn't really give him enough game time, in all fairness. But he's coming in fresh. And Eriksen, when he's on top form, he can open up a defence quite easily. And the Danes, as you rightly said, Craig, on their night they can put it up to anyone. But I do fancy Belgium. I think this is the golden generation. This is their chance. Of course, they finished third in the World Cup. They lost to France in that semi-final. Then they beat England in the playoff for third and fourth. But this Belgium side, when you look at their first 11 on paper, if they all stay fit, they're a match for any team in the competition.
Right, lads, to finish up, and I'll come to Conor first on this, I'm going to ask you three things. Who's going to be your top goal scorer? Who's going to win the group? And who's going to be the player of the tournament? And Leon, I'm going to put you under even more pressure here, my man. I want you a few value bets for the customers out there on the same thing. So Conor, I'll come to you first. Top goal scorer, who's going to win the tournament, and who's going to be player of the tournament?
I'm going to say Lukaku, top scorer. Like I said, I think he'll bag a few in the group stage. And I think Belgium, I done my predictor like yesterday, and I had it as Belgium and France in the final. So I think he'll have plenty of opportunities to score. I had France to win it. I think they're just too good. World Cup winners, ridiculous amount of squad depth. I know Benzema might be injured now, but even without him, just ridiculous amount of squad depth there. Like Giroud will get a few, Mbappe, Griezmann, just so many good players there. Player tournament, that was tricky. I was trying to think of that. If France are winning it, you'd imagine it'll have to be a French player, or more than likely. But then again, if Belgium gets to the final, it could be someone like De Bruyne. So it's really hard to know. I think De Bruyne is probably a good show, but I'd probably imagine it's a French player. Maybe Pogba if he turns up.
I'm gonna actually answer this one before I go over to Leon. I'm gonna go for Sir Harold of Tottenham to be the top goal scorer. I'm gonna go for France to win it, and I'm gonna go for Kylian Mbappe to go win the player of the tournament before he arrives on Merseyside. Leon, how about you, my man?
Well, I'm gonna go with. I'll tell you what. There's a little special there. You can mix and match on our site, but I'm gonna go with France Lukaku double, which is 33-1. So France will win the tournament, and Lukaku will be top scorer. I think you'll get I think you'll get a fantastic run for your money in that. Yeah, look, there's a lot of different ones. You could go France, Harry Kane, 33-1. Look, or else Italy is the other kind of dark horse. Well, they're not really a dark horse, but I think you can get a little bit of value with Italy. And Italy and Romeo Lukaku, if Italy win it and he's top scorer, that's 80-1. Now, it could be worth a couple of euro. But I think for player of the tournament, because I think the French are going to do it, and because he was man of the match in the Champions League final, I just feel N'Golo Kante. Again, a guy who's coming into this tournament full of form. Deschamps absolutely loves him. Mbappe is favourite with De Bruyne. But I think when you look at someone like N'Golo Kante at 14-1 to be the player of the tournament, I think there just might be a bit of value there.
Everybody loves a bit of N'Golo Kante. You cannot but like that man. He brings a smile to my face every time I see him. And as you said, what a player. Look, gents, I'm going to bring that one to a close. But myself, Leon and Jack Gill will be recording on Friday. We'll be looking ahead to England's opening game against Croatia. And we'll be doing that, Leon, I believe, ahead of every one of the England games. We'll be having a bit of a chat.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Craig. Look, we've got that great offer. It's going to focus in on the England games. I think England can go far if Southgate picks the right team, because he does have so much attacking weapons at his disposal. I mean, even like we haven't even really mentioned Sancho. Raheem Sterling hasn't had the best of season, but we know how good he can be. There is a lot of attacking options for Southgate, and it's up to him to try and pick the best team and give his country the best chance. But I do feel, like Conor, I think if they can get over that last 16 hurdle, depending where they finish in their group, they could at least make the semi-finals once again.
It's certainly all set up for an excellent tournament, folks. So look, we hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave your comments on maybe the tournament winner, top scorer, who you think a value bet could be on. Get yourselves over to Boyle Sports, download that app.
There'll be plenty of other offers around the Euros, not just on the England games. And we will be pushing favourites in particular matches, all for £10 or €10. So people don't have to bet too much. You can watch the game, have a bit of fun, but know that you're getting a super enhanced price on individual matches. There'll be plenty of those right throughout the tournament.
And obviously the banker of the tournament is England to go out on penalties at any stage. That has to be the banker of the tournament. Look, ladies and gents, it's been a real pleasure. I'll chat to you soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment. Take care.